hot dogs might be out to get you and your colon. But could it really be that something so delicious is actually very damaging to our health? That sounds about right, actually. At least it's true for candy, cheese, fried chicken, soft drink. Anyway, let's not get distracted. We're here to talk about one of the greatest culinary inventions in the history of mankind, the hot dog. It's right up there next to the Popeye's chicken sandwich, personal favorite by the way, and whatever Gordon Ramsay is cooking up these days. Naturally, it's quite a popular dish with different variations across nations. Definitely check out this article from Tasting Table, where they spotlight some interesting takes on the hot dog from around the world. But before you're tempted to try any of them, you might want to finish watching this video. The hot dog has perhaps its most admirers in the United States of America. And let's just take a moment to appreciate this absolutely diabolical picture of the Donald. Great stuff. Okay, moving on. According to the very real and very official National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, almost 900 million pounds of hot dogs were sold at US retail stores in 2024 alone. Additionally, around 20 million hot dogs are sold annually at major league ballparks. Clearly, Americans love their wieners. But could this be a fatal attraction? That reference would probably hit a lot harder if you saw this movie, but maybe you didn't because it came out in 1987. No worries, ask your parents about it. Coming back to the 21st century, a study was published in June of last year in Nature Medicine, which analyzed over 60 previous studies to understand the relationship between consuming processed meats, sugary beverages, and trans fats, and the development of a range of conditions including type 2 diabetes, ischemic heart disease, and colorectal cancer. Before we get into the findings of the study though, let's take a moment to understand exactly what we're talking about. In case you were unaware, we put together this pretty sophisticated diagram just to help you out. Nestled in between the bun is the sausage portion of the hot dog. This is an example of processed meat. As per our good friends over at the World Health Organization, processed meat refers to meat that has been transformed through salting, curing, or other processes to enhance flavor and improve preservation. Most processed meat contains pork or beef, but may also contain other red meats, poultry, animal organs, or meat byproducts such as blood. Right about now, you're probably thinking, that's sort of fine. I imagine that was what a hot dog was made of, more or less. Should I be concerned about something? Well, yes, a couple things. Curing, in this context, is a method of food preservation. Gotta make sure they don't spoil before you have a chance to cook them, right? When curing meat, compounds such as nitrates and nitrites are added. This inhibits bacterial growth and extends shelf life of the meat. Now, while I appreciate my food bacteria-free, there's a pretty big downside to this. See, processed meats contain amines, which can react with the nitrites added during the curing process and during cooking to form N-nitroso compounds, or NOCs, which are carcinogenic. They are alkylating agents that can modify the building blocks of DNA, leading to mutations, sometimes in critical genes like tumor suppressor genes, which, as the name implies, prevent tumor formation. If these genes are not working correctly, developing cancer is a possibility. But don't just take our word for it. Here's what the International Agency for Research on Cancer had to say. Pause to read. Now, there are some quacks on the internet that would say, actually, vegetables have nitrates and they don't cause cancer. And nitrates are also good for you. So, checkmate. So, let's address that. It is true that nitrates are found in vegetables, and after being converted to nitrites and then to nitric oxide by bacteria and enzymes in the body, it improves blood flow, which directly benefits cardiovascular health, exercise performance, cognitive function, etc. What they neglect to mention though is that vegetables contain antioxidants such as polyphenols and vitamins C and E that inhibit the formation of N-nitroso compounds. Vegetables also have a lower amine content compared to processed meat, which, as we mentioned before, react with the nitrites to form the NOCs, so less amines means less NOCs. Now let's get back to processed meat, because there is more. Remember how we mentioned that processed meat contains red meat? Well, red meat contains a lot of this thing called heme iron, which actually increases the formation of those pesky cancer-causing NOCs, while also directly damaging DNA. Again, don't just take our word, listen to the folks over at the World Cancer Research Fund and the American Institute for Cancer Research. Pause to read. Additionally, holy wall of text. Just for the sake of time, here's the TLDR summary for this slide. Cooking processed meat at high temperatures can result in the formation of other compounds such as heterocyclic aromatic amines, or HAAs, and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs. When these compounds are broken down into their more reactive forms by the body's enzymes, they become capable of damaging DNA, which could ultimately result in the development of colorectal cancer. This would be a good time to mention that all sources will be linked in the description for your perusal. Now, I don't know about you, but I am becoming a little concerned. Let's take a look at the findings of that study we mentioned earlier. The authors found that processed meat consumption at regularly observed levels was associated with a 7% average increase in colorectal cancer risk. This number jumps to 26% when consuming 50 grams of processed meat per day, which is roughly equivalent to just one hot dog. This is even more troubling considering the fact that the study provided a, quote, conservative analysis of the health risks associated with processed meat consumption. The authors also noted that based on their findings, there is no safe amount of processed meat consumption with respect to diabetes or colorectal cancer risk. And it's not just that study either. In August 2021, a modeling study found that eating a single beef hot dog could take 36 minutes off your life. Side note, the way they came up with this number is actually pretty interesting. The study modeled the health and environmental impacts of food using real-world data, then used those models to estimate the benefits of changing what we eat. We highly encourage you to check out the study. Anyway, back to scaring you. The Continuous Update Project, or CUP, which is led and managed by the World Cancer Research Fund in conjunction with the American Institute for Cancer Research, concluded that consumption of processed meat is a, quote, convincing cause of colorectal cancer. And based on the information we laid out on the previous slides, it's unsurprising that the International Agency for Research on Cancer has deemed the consumption of processed meat to be carcinogenic to humans. We are now officially very concerned. But wait, hold on, you cry out. My hero, 17-time Nathan's Hot Dog Eating Contest champion, Joey Chestnut, is the glizzy gobbling king. And he doesn't have colon cancer. Explain that, science man. Well, firstly, we don't have any idea what's going on in Joey's colon. That's between him and his doctor. Secondly, what all of this research tells us is that eating processed meat is associated with an increased risk of developing colon cancer. It is neither a certainty nor a surety. Let's put it this way. Alcohol consumption is a major risk factor for liver cirrhosis, but most alcoholics never develop liver cirrhosis, though it is worth mentioning that 50% of all cirrhosis deaths in the US in 2023 were alcohol-related. Similarly, cigarette smoking is a major risk factor for lung cancer, but most smokers never get lung cancer. However, the CDC reports that 9 out of 10 lung cancer deaths are due to either smoking or secondhand smoke. Just saying. The main take-home point here is that we should all strongly consider drastically cutting down on the amount of processed meat we consume, or if possible, eliminating it entirely. Yes, I know, hot dogs taste good, bacon is life, pepperoni pizza is my favorite. But we're talking about cancer here, not the common cold. We here at Healthnitis recommend swapping out processed meat for chicken, turkey, or fish, and try adding more vegetables and plant-based protein sources like lentils, chickpeas, and tofu. But if you really can't go without it, at least try reducing portion sizes, so you're consuming less processed meat. Regardless of your choice, we want to encourage everyone to check out the screening guidelines for colorectal cancer in your country. You might be due for a checkup. The American College of Gastroenterology recommends starting screening at 45 years of age. Colonoscopy is most ideal as it allows for direct visualization of the colon, but there is the option of doing a stool test, and if that comes back positive, then a colonoscopy. Neither option sounds particularly fun, but consider this. Colorectal cancer is the third most common cancer and the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths worldwide. Okay, we're done. Like and subscribe for more health content, and we'll see you on the next one.